All right, welcome everybody to our health and wellness, our January roundtable. Health and wellness for the busy professional. I am so excited for these three speakers. Absolutely amazing members, absolutely amazing people, and I can't wait to have them speak and for you to learn something from them. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. They may have some time after they're done presenting to answer questions. And we'll get to those, or you can plan your one-to-ones. So this is being recorded, and we will make sure that it gets up and in the networker next week for all of our members. But let's go ahead and kick it off with our first presenter. So we have today, our first presenter is Becky Longacre with Health Transformers. If you haven't had a one-to-one with this woman, she is incredible. I highly recommend it. She is Nurse Gone Health Coach. She helps high performers lose weight and heal pain through a mind, body, and soul philosophy in an easy to understand approach. In practicing 7 health behaviors, she has gotten off 5 different prescription medications, has gone into remission with ulcerative colitis, lost 40 pounds, and healed her back pain. She is a clinician and a patient while all helping her clients achieve the same results that she has through weekly coaching with the focus on weight loss and healthy mental health. So, Becky, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you for that lovely introduction. I see some people from my chapter here, so thank you, thank you, thank you. I see some people from a previous chapter that I was part of, which is fantastic. So thank you for coming to the Health and Wellness Roundtable, and I hope that you learned something today. I'm going to start my timer so I can keep on track with time, and I'm going to share my screen as we practiced. Okay, share. Yay! Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
And everyone can hear me okay?
You're good.
Okay. So I'm going to be talking about self-care and how it increases your productivity. So a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, people in all different types of industries, they think that self-care takes away from their productivity. They think that productivity is going to meetings, closing deals, processing invoices, and they forget the background that is required in order to show up at the meeting, in order to take care of yourself so you appear confident at the meeting, in order to do stress management so that you can have clarity of thought and you can make good decisions. So I'm going to be making an argument today for everyone to practice more self-care and to encourage you guys to do more self-care so that you can increase your productivity. So I love to live by famous people quotes, and this is my famous person quote. Steve Jobs says, "Ideas without action aren't ideas, they're regrets." And this quote reminds me of the many different patients that I took care of in the ICU setting, actually, where they, so everyone has genetic predisposition. That's the truth. I have a certain genome that my body follows. So we have certain predisposition for perhaps some illnesses and disease. However, we have an enormous impact. We have enormous control, a lot more power than we think we do over our health and wellness. And when I worked in the ICU, I was put directly in front of patients that never got around to putting their health and wellness first. So, how many like to go to the doctor? Is that your favorite activity? No. People don't like to go to the doctor. How many people like to spend a lot of money on medications and follow-up appointments? Do you like to spend time to go to the pharmacy and pick up extra medications? Do you like to be put on hold talking to the doctor while you're trying to get answers from your doctor? No. So when you take care of yourself, you can focus more on your work and your family as opposed to like just keeping your head above water in terms of your health and wellness. So this is an overview of what I'm going to be talking about. So why focus on self-care? What happens when we don't take care of ourselves? I'm going to talk a little bit about my story, what healthy self-care looks like, and easy tips for implementing self-care into your life and effects on length of life and quality of life when you have good self-care. Ignore that. So if you don't take care of your body, your body is eventually going to fail, and the things that you depend on your body to do are going to fail also, such as showing up and running a business, such as showing up and spending time with your family and things like that. So based on clinical observation as a nurse, mixed with personal experience and academic research, we all know that um, not providing yourself with effective self-care, you can have weight gain, high blood pressure, heart disease, chronic illnesses, diabetes, mental health problems, and or just appearing jumbled or disorganized. So the consequences in the business realm are you don't always make the best first impressions if you don't take care of yourself. Therefore, you may not appear confident, and therefore it may affect your ability to close business. So it can truly affect your bottom dollar in terms of not taking care of yourself. This also reminds me of Stephen Covey's when he talks about the private victory. So he talks about when you're alone, when no one is watching, and you do something hard, that primes you to go out into public and do the hard thing out in public. So practice the private victory, practice self-care, and you're more likely to be successful in the public space. So your body will compensate to a point, but it will eventually not be able to compensate for the lack of sleep, poor nutrition, lack of exercise, and poor coping with stress. This is where disease is going to come in. Your body is talking to you. Learn to listen to it. And so that's what I've had to do myself. So this is me before and after pictures, my story. So I've lived and sustained this transformation, mind, body, and soul. So I don't come from a place of judgment. I don't come from a place of perfection and judgment. I come from a place very much of I have learned how to take care of my mind, body, and soul, and I can help you do it too. So the things that I've overcome, this is some of the things that I've overcome. So anxiety based in childhood trauma, and I share this because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are walking around that are carrying trauma with them. And I want to say in this public space that I am a safe person to talk to. I am a safe person to talk to about childhood trauma or any sort of trauma. Um, I have also overcome ulcerative colitis. So in my 20s, I flared again, on again, off again with ulcerative colitis. I once upon a time had chronic all day long back pain and I had weight gain. So I've lost almost 40 pounds. Um, and this is what I help clients with. So what self-care is going to look like is going to be different depending on who you are, what you value, and what your lifestyle, what you want it to be. So what I tell clients is make it personal. So if you're an extrovert, for example, you may want to go to the gym to get a sense of community. I have a client that is motivated by working out side by side with somebody. That motivates him. You may want to stay home and work out because you want to save on time and or being around people all the live long day actually drains you because you're an introvert. You may want to practice the keto diet if you're insulin resistant or diabetic, or you may want to practice the Mayo Clinic diet. So it's all dependent on what works for you and how you get your results. I was asked before in the breakout room, I was asked what my New Year's resolution was, and my New Year's resolution was to play more. So to play more in 2026. I encourage clients to get their physical activity in happy forms. So one of my clients, she gets motion sickness when she uses a treadmill. So I was telling her, don't use a treadmill. Don't try to put yourself into that box if that's not working for you. Go to the mall and do some walking at the mall. Do step aerobics. Dance around in your living room. Do something that makes you happy, and you're more likely to do it again. So when you do something that makes you happy, you're more likely to solidify that habit in your brain because the shower of dopamine, you get a shower of dopamine when you do things that are enjoyable. So I encourage people to do activity that they like. And the same with food too. I encourage them to find foods that they like. If you're spiritual, I encourage you to lean into your spirituality or religion. If you're not spiritual, I encourage my clients to practice gratitude. When you practice gratitude, you can have better creative problem solving. You have clarity of thought. You make better decisions. You prioritize better when you practice gratitude. And I encourage people to find out what they need to de-stress. So maybe de-stressing is reading a book. Maybe de-stressing is going out into nature. Maybe de-stressing is going out and making a snowman in this weather. And then I interviewed Kelly Mank a little bit ago, and one of the things that we talked about was choosing your inner circle wisely. So choose the people. So you can be friendly with everybody, but who's in your inner circle? Are they happy? Are they healthy? Do they want what's best for you? Are they moving you forward? Are you moving them forward? So choosing your people wisely. I have a picture of my husband snorkeling at St. John. We went to St. John this past summer, and then a few pictures from that trip. That was fun. So 7 health behaviors to thrive. So when I do my one-to-ones with my fellow entrepreneurs and business owners, one of the things that I do hear kind of frequently is that people are not getting enough sleep. It's like 3 to 5 hours of sleep. And I'm challenging you guys to put that higher up on the priority list. I'm challenging you guys to do that because sleep improves your mental health. Sleep helps with decreasing inflammation. Sleep helps with wound healing. So sleep is very important. I'm not just saying it just to say it. There's a reason why I say all these things. Hydration, so drinking enough water reduces brain fog. It flushes out lactic acid so that your muscle soreness, you're going to have less muscle soreness when you hydrate. It also helps your body operate more efficiently because it helps in transport of nutrients into your cells and waste products outside of your cells. It also helps with joint lubrication. So there's a reason to drink enough water. Eat in a way that works for you, not Julia Roberts. So some of my clients eat 2 large meals per day. Some of my clients eat 6 smaller meals per day. It's all dependent on, again, if you're insulin resistant or diabetic, or if you have some sort of medically limited diet. It also depends on how you like to eat, what you like to eat. Find exercise that you love, or at least you can tolerate it. Get outside into nature. So for millennia, we evolved underneath the sky. And now so many of us earn our money from being inside, say in front of a computer. So getting out into nature is very helpful in terms of resetting your sleep-wake cycle. It's good for your mental health. It puts you in front of beauty, which again helps you go back to a state of gratitude so you can problem solve creatively. Surround yourself with healthy, happy people. Practice your spirituality to get grounded or practice gratitude. So this is the consequence of happy, healthy self-care. These are the blue zones. National Geographic, there was a journalist for the National Geographic that identified that in these 5 concentration, this population of, or this 5 geographical location of people, there was more likely that they were living over 100. And they also had less cardiovascular disease, less stroke, less diabetes, less obesity. The common denominators of these blue zones are this. So they eat more plants. They have natural movement and exercise. So they're not like Olympic athletes. They're not marathon runners. They just tend to walk more. They get more natural movement in their day. They manage stress better. So they actually think about how to manage stress to keep their stress levels low. They consume less calories. They have mild to moderate amounts of alcohol. So not overindulging in alcohol. They have a strong sense of community. They're faith-based. they're family focused, and they have happy social circles, friends. So I want you guys to look at this list and I want you to take note how much of this list has to do with relationships. About half of the items on this list has to do with relationships. So who we choose to surround ourselves with has a profound impact on health and wellness. There was another talk that I did about women and heart disease, and the research that I was focused on how women in healthy, happy marriages had a lesser chance of having a heart attack, or if they've had a heart attack, they had a lesser chance of having a recurrence of a cardiac event if they had healthy, happy marriages. So our social relationships are enormously important. So what I ask my clients and potential clients is what you're doing working? So if it is, that's great. You know it's working because you're making measurable progress. You're happy. You love your life. If it's not working, you're not making measurable progress. Maybe you're miserable. Maybe you don't like your life so much. So if it's not working, I challenge you to use 2 tips I've outlined here today. I'm happy to send you my slides and have a one-to-one to talk further about your path to health and happiness. So here's a vision for you. So with consistent effort, anything, and I mean anything, is possible. The question is, are you willing to do the work to get there? And are you willing to accept the blessing of health and wellness? So thanks for joining us today. My name is Becky Longacre, health coach with Health Transformers.
Thank you, Becky. Does anyone have any very specific questions for Becky? She has a couple minutes. Feel free to,
Becky?
yeah, Kate.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody else. Chris. Let's start with Christian and then we'll go to Kate.
Becky, what was the turning point of when you started this whole mindset and plan to correct everything that was bothering you?
It started when I was in my mid 20s. So I started my health and wellness journey in my mid 20s, and I had bits and pieces of it, but I didn't have a comprehensive plan until I was closer to 40. And that happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, all of these pieces of self care and health and wellness fell out the window again. And so my self care was not a priority again. I was working as a nurse during the pandemic. And so the issues that I had came back. So the weight gain came back pain came back, anxiety came back, ulcerative colitis came back. And so that was sort of my moment of clarity to really drive home the point that the self care that I was doing for the 15 years before that really was hugely effective in terms of keeping me happy and healthy.
And Kate.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I wanted to hear a little bit more about the sleep aspect of things. You had said, a lot of us probably don't sleep enough. Like guilty right off the bat. My aura ring's always like, "You're in sleep debt. Go to bed earlier." And I'm like, "I'll
Yeah.
try."
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of information out there about like how much sleep you need, when you should go to bed, when you should wake up, like all that stuff. And I just would love to know, your take on it and get some
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, so sleep is going to be an individual thing, just like diet and exercise is an individual thing. However, I would make the argument that sleeping 4 hours per night is not good for the majority of the population. I would make that argument. Um, more recent data is saying that 7 hours of sleep, even 6 hours of sleep, is adequate. And I can't tell you exactly how many hours of sleep per night to get, but what I'll say is, are you thinking clearly? Do you have good mental health? Are you having feelings of anxiety? Are you having feelings of irritability? Are you tending to get sick? Those are all pointers that perhaps you need to sleep more. And then I've told clients before practicing progressive muscle relaxation, where you tense certain muscle groups for a certain amount of breaths, and then you relax certain muscle groups for breathing out. That can help with sleep as well as, meditation and listening to a calming podcast or music. I hope that
Awesome. Thank
answered your
you.
question.
Yes, no, very much did. Thank you.
Good.
All right. Anybody else, real quick? Becky, I think we're good. I know I have to listen to like Niels calls him my crazy guy to go to sleep every night, but I'm really doing much better on my sleep. And we were trying to think of it last night. He's like, I think you've been listening to this guy since 2017. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure that's when Jason actually started yelling at me, or somebody started yelling at me for my sleep. So I'm like, all right, I gotta sleep. I have to fall asleep. So nope,
Yeah.
I think that's super important. And I know I've seen a huge difference since that. So Becky,
Good. Awesome.
thank you so much for that. I'm sure you'll have a number of people reach out to you and schedule one-to-ones. All
Hey,
right.
who is your crazy guy?
It's through Peloton and Niels, what's his name? I forget his name all the time. Niels knows his name.
Ross Rayburn.
See? Because he starts every one with, Hi, I'm Ross Rayford, right? So Niels calls him my
Hi, Ross.
crazy
Go to
guy.
sleep. I'm going to sleep too.
Niels is
Okay,
one of
thank
those
you.
guys, like he hits the pillow and he's out, and I'm like, okay, 4 hours later, I might fall asleep. Ross Rayburn puts me to bed every night. It's wonderful.
Okay.
I've heard his name, but I've never heard what he said because I'm definitely asleep by that point.
I love that.
And I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever heard the end of him. So like it's really good. All right, that's Niels' way of telling me to move on. So next we have Dr. Phil Finmore. I don't know about you guys, but if you have ever anytime a chiropractor or a physical therapist talks, I want to like sit up and I want to put my shoulders back and I want to have good like breaths and good posture because I always feel like I'm disappointing them. But please welcome Dr. Phil Finmore, who started WorkFitMe, which is a mobile PT company. It's absolutely incredible. He'll come to your house, he'll come to your office. I know he's been to my office to help me. He's amazing. So he is here to help busy Maine professionals build a resilient body they can be confident in so they can perform like the everyday athlete they are, helping clients do more of what they love with who they love by building a strong foundation of movement to eliminate and prevent pain and injury is his goal. Living a happier, healthier, and wealthier life is the outcome. Guys, please welcome Dr. Phil Finmore.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Phil, you can take over the screen.
Great. I will get this going here and get this in play mode. Fantastic. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you everybody for being here. I think it's funny that you Kelly, that you mentioned that you want to sit up straight every time you hear someone like me talk, because right on my first slide here, it says there is no such thing as perfect posture. So we're gonna dig into that. So that was fantastic that you rolled with that. So just wanted to give you all a little bit about me. I'm not just gonna read all of this, but the real take home here is that the last bullet point there, that I'm really passionate about using my skill set to prevent injury and pain. So physical therapy is traditionally used much more in a reactive sense. People come to us and get the help when pain is debilitating, and that's great. I love having the ability to help people get out of pain, but if without a myriad of imaging and diagnostic work and all this other stuff, we can, with a very high level of accuracy, determine the root cause of someone's problem and get them out of pain. That means that we can use that same information and make sure that area doesn't become painful as well. So really just trying to get the word out there that that PT does not just have to be for, I'm in pain and I want to get out of pain, and then I'm done with it, right? Really kind of want to drive the point home that going beyond that and getting you to a point where you can not only just be pain free with your day to day, but be pain free with higher level type activity that you might want to be doing. And the reason I said in the intro there, your everyday athlete is because high level is a little different for everybody, right? We got to meet people where they're at, and we got to bring them to where we want to be and give them the tools and the accountability they need to maintain that level of performance that their life is demanding of them, and be prepared for whatever life throws at you, right? Because I mean, could be something as simple as having to hustle across the street, right? Like that's what we're talking about here. Like, can your body, like, think about that. This isn't about the schneck pain, which I'll get into in a second, but can your body actually get you across the street if you need to hustle across the street, right? Like, that's a question I like to ask people when talking about just the injury prevention side of things that we're really, really passionate about. A little bit more about me. This is my incredible family. So, my wife Mallory, my two daughters Brielle and Sawyer, who are 6 and 3, and that's my fur baby Brewski, like Teddy Brewski. Go Patriots! Going to the Super Bowl again. Anyway, so this right here is really why I do what I do and why I work so hard, because I get to enjoy time with them. We already went over this a little bit, but just a little bit more about the services we offer. Really quickly, we do have mobile services from Yarmouth down to the Kennebunk Wells area, and then we do have a clinic location in Portland, as well at the EA Wellness Center at EA Fitness and Performance, another awesome BNI member. Some new cool things we've added. We have a radial shockwave unit, which is incredible for really chronic tendon type issues. So if you're someone who's always like, geez, that shoulder's acting up again, we've got this new treatment that can actually help tissue repair at a cellular level, which is really cool. And then a few other things there that you can really take a look at. But really want to talk about schneck pain. Okay, so what the heck is schneck pain? That just sort of nagging, diffuse shoulder neck pain that comes and goes, but in my experience, eventually comes and doesn't go. So honestly, schneck pain is one of those things that originally catapulted me into starting my own business. I saw the work from home transition happening in the pandemic and knew that this area was going to start hurting people because they went from an office, and many offices nowadays are very much ergonomically minded, and I knew they were going to go from that ergonomically minded office corporate setting that they were in to a laptop on the couch or something. And I just had a feeling that if we already see issues in this area with people that work on a computer all the time, that was going to get worse. So this area can relate to things like headaches, jaw pain running down the arm, numbness and tingling. And I call it schneck pain because the shoulder and neck area are so incredibly intertwined. So just want to go through a little bit of anatomy with you all here. You can see in the more like full body, like the back view of the full body over there, that musculature that attaches from the neck down to the spine also attaches out into the shoulder. And then a little zoomed in area here, over on the left of the screen here, where you can see all that nerve tissue coming from the neck and coming through those smaller areas of musculature as well. So you can see how intertwined these areas are. And that's the big thing I want you all to take on. There will not be a quiz. I'm not going to ask you where the inferior angle of the scapula is and where the trapezius and latissimus dorsi is. But I just want you to appreciate how interrelated these areas are. And the reason why people can sometimes not be successful in handling problems in this area is because they have pain like out here in their upper arm maybe, and up into the shoulder a little bit, and everyone's focused on the shoulder, but the problem is actually coming from the neck. Or two things can be true at the same time. They have a shoulder problem going on that has then, from a compensatory movement standpoint, started to affect the neck. Okay, and we have to tackle both things in a comprehensive way in order to take care of the problem. Okay. Another thing that I want to show you here is, and again, this is a very like stripped down foundational level picture of some of the anatomy here. This is actually looking from the front of the body, like zoomed in on the neck, but you can see that there are nerves that come out of each level of the spine here, the nerve roots, we call them, that form together to create what we call a brachial plexus. And that brachial plexus, which I have a better picture of here, runs through a series of muscles and under your collarbone and through some of your pec musculature until they create the nerves that run down your arm. We also saw that out of some of these nerve roots or some of that nervous tissue that goes up into the head. So you can see why this whole area can cause anything from pain radiating down the arm to headaches, jaw pain, things like that. Again, just an illustration to show you how incredibly connected things are and why, even if you just have symptoms down in your hand that might be classified as carpal tunnel or numbs and tinglies or whatever, if we don't look up here as well as down here, we are missing something in most cases. Okay. In most cases. This is a little hyperbolic, but I like to tell people that carpal tunnel syndrome is the most inaccurately diagnosed like nerve condition in the body, because I don't know how many people I've seen that still have symptoms in their hand, had a surgery on this, which isn't a big deal, by the way. It's still surgery, don't get me wrong, but it's not an incredibly invasive surgery. And they never have anything addressed up here. Things were just hyper focused down here in the hand, and they still have their symptoms because the carpal tunnel really wasn't the ultimate root cause of the problem, even though this is where the symptoms are showing up. So again, just another illustration of how interconnected all of this is and why we have to be looking beyond the scope of where our symptoms are in order to take care of something like this. I also would just want to get into the mechanics of the shoulder a little bit because they interrelate a lot. In order to move our arm overhead, our shoulder blade has to move up and out, okay, in these directions. I realize how blurry this picture is now, and I've got this thing blown up on my full screen, but you can get an idea. And the reason that's important, I want to go back to this, is these trapezius muscles that connect from the shoulder to the neck. And there's one under there called the levator scapula, okay, as well, that you can see in the diagram there, that have connections between the shoulder blade and the neck. And I'm going to kind of turn to the side here so that you can see if those are really, really tight, we're going to push forward and really compress through the middle of our neck here, okay? That sort of rounded upper body, that forward posture. What that does is it affects the mechanics of how the neck move and which structures get stressed in the neck, and it affects the mechanics of that shoulder blade moving. Because if those muscles in that trapezius area are tight and overpowered and we're rounded forward, what I'm showing you on the screen right now with that shoulder blade opening up can't happen. Okay, so now we have extra stress on our neck, which where all those nerves come out, which can get irritated. We also now have extra stress on our rotator cuff, okay, because the mechanics of this shoulder and shoulder blade are now off and not working. And that is why sometimes when we get pain in this area, we can kind of stop the aggravating activity and it'll go away. But that's this right here is, and not addressing this is why it comes back and sometimes why it just won't go away. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I just want to illustrate how interrelated all of these things are and how intricate it is and how we have to tease all of this out in order to get the root cause of this problem, and so you can appreciate the areas we need to work on to keep this at bay. Okay, from an injury prevention standpoint as well. So what do we do about this, right? Like life pulls us forward, right? We're on computers, we're working on laptops, we're on phones when we're not working and when we're working. We're using Kindles, whatever. Even if you read like a paperback book, right? Life pulls us forward. We're in that more rounded position all the time. So variety is the spice of life, is what I like to say. We have to break the pattern more often. That's why I say there's no such thing as perfect posture. Because when we are in the same positions all the time, being here is really not what causes the pain and the problem in the schneck area. It's when life inevitably requires us to move out of that position that we then get the problem. Because we've developed compensations here and we have poor foundational movement. So when we have to move in a more dynamic way that is outside of the pattern we've created, we put excess stress on these structures. They get overstressed. They put their hand up and say, hey, I have pain now. And I don't like what you're doing to me, right? So as you can see here, ergonomics matter, but how you use your body and move your body within that setup is just as important, if not more important. Because I could have a great ergonomic setup and like a sit to stand desk and everything's level and where it needs to be, and then I could sit like this all day and like just scroll with one hand, right? So like my desk can be great, but if I don't know how to use my body in a variety of different ways within that setup, we're kind of fighting an uphill battle. 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of a thing. Okay. So while we're on that topic, one of the biggest things, and this actually came up in our breakout room as we were talking about the prompting question, some sit to stand desk stuff. So this is a great way to add some of that variety I was just talking about into your day, but we have to implement it the right way. Okay. So you can't stand for hours like the first half of the day and then sit for the second half of the day. That is still spending hours on end in the same type of position, which you're eventually going to compensate for. And we're gonna be right back where we started. Okay. So what I tell people to do is you want to change those positions up every hour if possible on average. Okay. So, I know sometimes you might be on a call that is going to take 2 hours and you can't change your position within that time. That's okay. Make sure you spend the next, hour and a half in a different position. Um, when you are sitting, sit with back support more often than without it, because the muscles that help hold us up all day typically are when we're in these rounded positions more often, like life pulls us in, get kind of stretched out and don't operate as well as they used to, and they fatigue out, and that can lead into a lot of these compensatory patterns as well. So, there's the one of the hype things is like sitting on like an exercise ball, or it was for a while anyway. That can be fine, but again, that's not something we want to do for hours on end. We got to give some of those muscles some time to chill during the day as well as work during the day. Okay. And like I said, variety is the spice of life. So I want to show you a few exercises and things that you can envelop into your day. I call them exercise. They're more activities like repositioning and activation activities that you can do to add in some of that variety. Because again, life just constantly pulls us forward. And what that does is I talked about how these muscles up here can get really, really tight and overactive, which means muscles that help us open up and not just open up, but stay opened up, get stretched out and they get weak. It's that imbalance, right, at the root of it that typically brings on the schneck pain that we help people overcome and help people avoid. And these are the things that we typically start with people. Not with everybody, but this is the stuff that I see most common. So I want to go through this with you all here. So this is just activating your shoulder blades. I don't love the angle of the arrows on this picture. Honestly, I wish they were angled a little bit more in the down and back direction and a little less in the together. But it was the best, really the best photo I could find. What I want you to think about here is like you're putting your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Okay, this is something you can all try here. It's a very small movement. You can even kind of watch my shoulders like they're barely moving, right? But I'm activating those muscles that bring my shoulder blades down and back, holding that for a few seconds, repeating it. I usually tell people somewhere between 10 to 15 times in one session, like 3 to 5 times throughout your day. The greatest part about this is you can do it anywhere, at your desk, on your phone, driving the car, making dinner, watching TV, whatever. You don't need anything here except for maybe some like decent back support and to activate those muscles. Okay. If you're feeling this down your back, like into your lower back, we're doing too much. We're probably arching. We just need to move the shoulder blades down and back. Okay. Super simple thing that you can do throughout the day. The next one, this is everyone's favorite. You're going to give yourself a double chin. Okay. That's the best cue I can give you to describe the motion of this. Okay. When I say that, everyone goes, oh yeah, okay, I know how to do that. But the big thing I want you to do, and I'm even going to like just turn myself to the side here so you can see, we want to go straight back. Okay. So I'm not leading with my head. I'm not leading with my chin down toward my neck. We're just bringing the head and neck straight back. Now, for some people, this motion is going to be very, very, very small because of how tight some of these things are. And that's what we want. We want this to be a very gentle stretch through the base of your skull, kind of where your head meets your neck and down into your neck. We don't want this to be intense at all. Okay. Very important to go straight back. We're not going back like this. We're not going down like this. We're going straight back. Like I said, give yourself a double chin, right? Everyone always knows what I nobody wants to do that, but everyone knows what I mean when I say that. So again, hold for a few seconds. Do about 10 of those in a row. You can also do this one lying down, and if you feel like doing this sitting up is a little too intense for you, I was just doing it lying down, and you just push the base of your head like back into like a pillow, or sometimes I'll even have people like roll up a towel and put it on their pillow like at the base of their head so that they have something to push their head back into. Okay. But again, another great way to just open things up rather than us being here all the time, right? Where we're really compressed at the base of the head, that head and neck is forward. Just do something different than what life tends to, the stressors that life tend to put on that area of our body. Okay. And then this one here is something everybody everywhere should do, whether you have schneck pain or not. This can unlock so many things: schneck pain, mid back pain, low back, hips, the whole nine yards. You get to just lie down for 5 minutes. It's incredible. This is the fountain of youth, people. Okay, lying down on a foam roller for 5 minutes can do wonders. I won't even get into what it can do for like different parts of the nervous system, even helping the effectiveness of your breathing, which I didn't get into. Some of these muscles up here in the neck that those nerves go through, if we're not bringing oxygen into our body effectively, which we won't really know, by the way, our body will just keep breathing the way it needs to breathe. But these muscles can help move our rib cage around, and can be over stressing them as well. So I didn't go down that rabbit hole. I could spend a whole 20 some odd minutes just talking about that. But this right here is fantastic. It helps gravity pull us open. So we're going to stretch out some of those pec muscles. We're going to stretch out some of these upper shoulder muscles. You just get to bring your arms out to the side with those knees bent. That foam roller is vertically down your spine, head on one end, hips on the other. And you just get to lay there and close your eyes and breathe and relax for 5 minutes. It's incredible. This is a great time to practice some of that gratitude that Becky was talking about a little earlier, or just like clear your mind and do nothing but work on yourself and your general mobility for 5 minutes a day. Okay. Um, so, in summary, what we're trying to do here is restore the balance between mobility and stability to create that foundational movement. I mentioned that, that was mentioned in my sort of introduction there. That is what we need to do is get out of the compensatory patterns that life has put us in, so that when life requires our body to move in a different way, we can do that without overstressing a structure. Okay. And the structures that we typically overstress in this neck area, either those nerves coming out of the neck or the rotator cuff. There's no such things as perfect posture. Variety's the spice of life. We got to keep it moving. Okay. We got to find ways to break things up. So doing those little like movement snacks during the day, the little chin tucks, the shoulder blades, spending 5 minutes on that foam roller are just key to helping build that foundation. Because if we can't activate and move things, getting into higher level stability and strength training can feed into the compensatory patterns and actually cause more of a problem and feed into the problem rather than fix it. Okay. But that is the next step. We need to get there. We just got to build that foundation first. And that's what we help people do, either when they have pain or when they want to prevent it. Just some information on how to find us. I realized it took more of this 20 minutes than I thought I would. So if you have really big pressing questions, happy to set up one-to-ones and chat, so that we can keep you performing like the everyday athlete that you want to be.
Any questions for Dr. Phil? I love this so much. And I saw all you guys were all like sitting there moving around, trying to do the shoulder stuff. I'm like, holy mackerel. I work very hard at trying not to have a double chin when I'm on video. So that goes against like everything I want to do, but okay. Any questions for Dr. Phil? All right, I actually have one. I have a stretch that I do every night before I go to bed where I lean my head back and let it like kind of come off my bed a little, and I keep my arms up, and I have 4 stretches that I do really similar to that. Is that similar to that, or am I hurting myself? Probably hurting myself.
I mean, probably not hurting yourself. I feel like you'd know if you were hurting yourself.
It feels great.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those that's not exactly the same as the foam roller, because we're not like when we get our spine on that foam roller and let gravity pull us down, we're opening up a few more things and actually getting some mobility and force like directly through the spine. So it's a little different. What you're doing is a little bit more to have gravity help open the neck up a little bit, and some musculature through your arms, which is not a bad thing. If that is something that you can do without causing little pinch points or pain points, totally fine to do. I always suggest the foam roller because it's like a lower barrier of entry for people. Like some people might be in a position where when they lay on that foam roller, their head can't even touch without doing one of these things. Right. So like there's some buildup that would need to be done. Like if I put some people in the position, like you said, on like the edge of your bed, they would be in like way more pain than whatever discomfort they might be in on a day-to-day basis. So it's one of those things where it's not like cookie cutter, right? I'm not saying like you should abandon that and just do this. But yeah, you're doing similar things. They're just a little different. Um, uh, and that's if that's something that you can do, fantastic. The foam roller thing could be something that if you did the foam roller before you did the thing in the bed, possibly leaning over the edge of the bed you might get a little more bang for your buck out of that one. So
I don't have any foam rollers here. So I literally, as you were talking, I went on Amazon, typed in foam roller just to remind myself. Okay, does the head go on the foam roller or does the head go above the foam roller?
the head goes on the foam roller.
On the
So
foam
head is
roller.
on one
Okay.
end, hips are on the back. If you want to get yourself a foam roller, the 36-inch full diameter, not the half diameter foam roller, but it's like a 6-inch diameter foam roller, 36 inches long on Amazon is the easiest way to find a foam roller.
All right. It's on my Amazon, so I don't forget. Kate, you had a question.
Yeah, you halfway answered it, but I was gonna say, A, what's the best way to get a foam roller? And then B, do you have any kind of like home DIY foam roller replacements that you could suggest?
Hmm, great question. Yes, one of the easiest things to do would be to take like maybe a few like a couple of towels and like roll them together
Ooh,
so that you're getting the thickness because the hard thing with like towels or something like that, obviously those are going to compress a little bit more just like when you're
yeah.
lying on them with your body weight. Um, so if you can get a few towels and like roll them together, and as long as they kind of go like the length of your spine, and you can get some like head and neck support while you're lying on it, that can be a good um, DIY replacement.
Yeah. I'll text you. I was thinking maybe like a yoga mat too.
That
If it's
too. Yep. Or even like putting towels in the yoga mat. Absolutely. There's a bunch
yeah,
of different ways. Yeah.
you
Something
take
cylindrical that gets you a few inches up off the floor so you can open up down to the floor and still have some head and neck support is the key.
Fantastic. All right. I highly recommend one-to-ones with Dr. Phil. All right. And moving on to our last presenter today. I know this is not the name or the picture, and this person looks very different than the person that we had on the video. We had a small change up last minute Friday night. So Jason was gracious enough to say yes to presenting today, and we love when Jason presents. Those of you who don't know, like Jason is one of my favorite people in the world. He's got this little mysterious thing going on, and he's so smart. And he's been to my house in very vulnerable times, and no judgment. It's great, guys. Have a one-to-one with Jason. I mean, he's had one-to-ones with probably most of you that are here right now, but have a one-to-one with Jason if you haven't. He's incredible. And as far as Jason goes, Jason is a Mayo Clinic certified wellness coach and national board certified health and wellness coach, as well as a certified nutritionist and certified exercise physiologist. I think I said that right. All right. Jason helps people reverse and prevent type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and other ailments with evidence based approaches to nutrition, exercise, stress reduction, holistic wellness, and most importantly, lasting behavior improvements and positive habit formation. As part of his work, Jason often helps people lose weight and keep it off, in part by helping them overcome the common challenges of yo-yo dieting, we all know those, and emotional eating. Most of us know that. Jason helps people go from knowing what to do and having good intentions, we all have those, to consistently taking great care of themselves in ways that help them add years to their lives and life to their years. Love how he says that. Give it up for Jason, guys. Welcome.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you everyone for having me, and thank you for coming out on this snow day. I have my virtual business card on the screen, so you can have my contact info. If there's anything I talk about today that you have a question about, I'd love to hear from you. Or if you want to dive more deeply into any of this stuff, I'd love to have a one-to-one. What I'm essentially going to talk about today is that key line in my bio that Kelly shared, helping you go from having knowledge and good intentions to making the kinds of changes you want to make in your life. So I can't see you, but still, I'd like you to raise your hand if there's a change you'd like to make, if there's a habit you'd like to form. Maybe you want to be eating better in some way. Maybe you want to be exercising more. Maybe you want to be getting more sleep, or there's another self-care habit you want to form. Raise your hand just so you can acknowledge that there's a habit you want to form.
Almost everybody has their hands up, Jason.
Thank you for sharing that with me, Kelly. I made that assumption because you can assume that in the general population and definitely people who would come to a presentation like this. So pop culture's answer for you or solution for you is to just do it. Now, in my experience as a wellness coach, that's not a very helpful suggestion because if just doing it would work, you would have already done it. Just do it is all about willpower, and willpower is an important part of life. We all use willpower every day, but willpower is an exhaustible resource. Think about willpower as you wake up each day and you've got a certain amount of money in something like a willpower bank account, and then your work is demanding your willpower, and your family is demanding your willpower, and dealing with a snowstorm is dealing your willpower. And then all of a sudden, you're out of willpower dollars. You're at a turning point in the day where it was that time when you were going to go to the gym, or you were going to go to the swimming pool, or you were going to go to the yoga studio. And sorry, you used all my willpower dollars, so I'm not going to exercise today. So willpower, using willpower alone to try to form a self-care habit is like trying to build a house with a hammer. Obviously, builders use a whole set of power tools to build a house. And what I'm going to teach you today are the equivalent of those power tools for what we could think of as habit skills. So you can see on your screen this saying willpower plus skill power. You've already got willpower. You wouldn't be running your own business if you didn't have willpower in spades. I'm going to give you skill power in the form of habit skills. Specifically, I'm going to give you 8 tangible habit skills that you can use and apply to a habit you want to form in the coming weeks or months. To set the expectation for what you can expect over the coming weeks or months as you set out to form a self-care habit, um, I'm going to present a contrast. A lot of people think they're going to flip a switch. This is another pop psychology idea that you're just going to make a firm decision, you're going to change your beliefs, and tomorrow you're going to be doing everything entirely differently. That rarely, if ever, happens. It's very hard to flip a switch and live completely differently because you've probably heard this saying because it's a popular saying, change is hard. A better way to think about change or forming a self-care habit is like a snowball rolling down a hill. You start with a small snowball that's not rolling very fast, and eventually it gains some momentum, and the snowball it's getting a little bigger and going a little faster, and getting a little bigger and going a little faster, and getting a little bigger and going a little faster. That's what successful change looks like in the real world. And you can remember this 3-part saying, traction, momentum, automaticity. So first you got to get some traction with a new habit, then you build some momentum, and eventually you achieve automaticity. Now, the cool thing about automaticity is you now own it. When you do something automatically, and I'm sure there's several things you already do automatically, you now own them. You do them without thinking about them. You do them without effort. Habits are like capital. They're like money in the bank that earns interest without you doing any work. So the ultimate goal is to help you build habits. Um, but it's almost impossible to just say, tomorrow I'm going to wave a magic wand and have a new habit. You generally have to go through the traction, momentum, automaticity cycle to form the habit. So let's jump into skill number 1 of these 8 tangible habit skills that we're going to go over today. And the one is to assume an experimental mindset. And an experimental mindset is in contrast to a pass-fail mindset. So this is what most people do, is they say, all right, starting tomorrow, I'm going to eat better in this way, or starting tomorrow, I'm going to swim for 45 minutes 3 times a week, or do yoga 5 mornings a week, or walk for 20 minutes a day, or whatever it is. And they set out with a pass-fail mindset. And the idea is they're sort of judging themselves. At the end of the week, they're going to say, did I do what I set out to do? And if I did, I'm going to give myself a passing grade. And if I didn't, I'm going to give myself a failing grade. The problem with this approach is failing is demoralizing. We don't like the idea that we failed. So an experimental mindset is the perfect antidote to this. So an experimental mindset is the mindset a scientist takes when they're doing research. That even if your hypothesis doesn't play out in the experiment, you learn something, right? When Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, he failed however many times before he succeeded, in part because each failure wasn't deemed as like a moral failing or a character flaw. It was, what can I learn from this? So that's what I encourage you to do when you set out to form a self-care habit over the coming weeks and months, is to approach it asking yourself three key questions on an ongoing basis. What's going well? What about this approach doesn't seem to be working? And answer that question without any judgment. But like a scientist would say, oh, that's data or that's information. I learned something about myself there. I learned something about my approach that needs to be adjusted. And then the coolest question of all is, what am I learning about myself in the process? Let's make this a little more tangible. Someone might want to be exercising more, and they might set out to, I'll use one of the examples I shared earlier, they might set out to do yoga 5 mornings a week. And what they find out using an experimental mindset is, between getting off to work and getting the kids to school, the morning doesn't work nearly as well as they thought it would. So they don't judge themselves as failing for not pulling off yoga 5 times a week yet. They say, there's got to be a better way. Maybe I need to do that right when I get home from work. Maybe I need to do, if I want to do it 5 times a week, maybe I got to do it both times on the weekend and 3 times during the week. But that experimental mindset frees you from that pass-fail mindset, which ultimately leads to quitting. Because if we fail enough, we're going to say, you know what, the heck with it, I just can't do this right now. All right, the second key mindset is embrace yourself. If you're at all a perfectionist, or if you're even even if you value excellence, you might not like this term. I'm going to call it a good enough mindset. And what I mean by a good enough mindset is in contrast to an all or nothing mindset. Almost nothing stops people from forming self-care habits more than taking an all or nothing mindset. Think about the very term all or nothing. It's binary. It's all or nothing. So if you can't do it all for some reason, you're not choosing all, you're choosing nothing. Um, the antidote to this is to think about something like, when you can't do it all, do some of it. So the person setting out to do yoga 5 mornings a week, or the person setting out to swim 4 afternoons a week, maybe you do it 4 instead of 5, or 2 instead of 3, because we got a foot of snow, or because the kids are home sick, or because you were a little more out of shape than you thought you were when you started, and doing that many workouts is just too taxing at the beginning. But instead of saying, you know what, I'm just an all or nothing kind of person. If I can't do it perfect, I'm not going to do it all, which like the previous mindset challenge, leads to quitting. You do 2/3 of it or 3/4 of it, and you say, well, doing 2/3 of it or 3/4 of it is a lot better than I was doing a month ago. I'm proud of myself. This is progress. Next week, I'm going to try to do even better. That sets you up for much more ongoing success. So here's just a handy slide that can reinforces these two ideas. So try to stay away from a pass-fail mindset or an all or nothing mindset, which tend to lead to sort of fizzling out or quitting. And try to think about an experimental mindset or a good enough mindset. And again, good enough doesn't mean to choose mediocrity. It means good enough to get the job done. So if you're exercising in a way that's helping you lower your blood pressure or lose weight or lower your blood sugar levels or whatever you're out to achieve, you can think of it as, the equivalent in our businesses would be, your marketing is creating a steady flow of revenue. Your revenue might not be perfect, but it's good enough if it's creating the revenue that you'd like it to. All right, let's move into our third of 8 habit skills. This one I call act from your why, not from shoulds. It's not very motivating to say, I should be eating better, or I should be exercising, or I should be getting to sleep earlier. Those are sort of like acknowledging society's generalized ideas for how you should be living, and that motivates almost no one to do anything. If you're deeply in touch with why eating better or why exercising more or why getting more sleep personally makes your life better, you're setting yourself up with much deeper, much more powerful motivation fuel. No one can tell you what your why or your whys are. I would love for you, as I mentioned in my introduction, I can't see you and I can't see the chat while I'm presenting, but I think this would be a worthy exercise for yourself, and I'll take a peek at them when I'm done presenting. To put one habit you want to be forming over the next few weeks or few months and why it's important to you. Great way to answer the why it's important to you question is, what will it bring to your life that isn't part of your life today? Or how will it like make your life better than it is today? So go ahead and do that while I continue. It's very powerful to get these ideas out from rattling around in your mind. Type them out, write them out, share them with someone. When we're done today, go share them with someone in your life. That's a very good way to get started with um, dwelling in your why, amplifying your why, and using it as motivation. One last thing on this isn't a one-time thing. The That's why I use the phrase dwell in your why. The more you can remind yourself of your why, you separate yourself from sort of the general, I should be doing this because everyone else says it's a good idea, and you tap into deep personal meanings, and you'll have much more motivation for change. All right, number 4 habit skill is take baby steps. This is a picture worth 1,000 words. The person on the right and the person on the left are trying to get to the same place. They're trying to achieve the same thing. The person on the right is trying to take big steps, and they can't even reach the first step. They're flailing, they're floundering. You could almost imagine their self-talk. They're saying things like, I knew I couldn't do this. This is harder than I thought. Why did I even try? And sometimes it gets nastier than that. You know, I never complete what I start, or I'm such a failure, or those kinds of things. The person on the left didn't set a lower goal, didn't accept mediocrity, isn't playing a small game. They just took the big goal they wanted to achieve and they broke it down into smaller steps. This enabled them to experience immediate success, which feels awesome. In psychology, we call this self-efficacy. It's task-specific self-confidence. It's not self-confidence like, hey, I think I'm the greatest. It's like, oh, I'm learning how to play guitar, or I'm learning how to speak Mandarin, or I'm learning how to eat better. That's kind of cool. Like, I didn't think I could do that. It feels good to learn. And one of the best ways to boost your self-efficacy for a given task is to take smaller steps or to take baby steps. Again, this doesn't mean you're not going to eventually be doing big things. It just means you take a small step and succeed and give yourself a pat on the back and rinse and repeat. It's the opposite of the demoralizing feeling of not being able to reach the first step. It's sort of like psychologically contagious. It makes you want to do more and more and more. You might have experienced this in your business when you started and it felt scary and it felt daunting, and then you got your first paid customer, and then you got your second paid customer, and then you increased your fees, and you saw like this works. I can do this. I'm going to do bigger things with this. I'm going to maybe open a second location. That all starts by taking small steps and experiencing success. All right, the 5th habit skill is to turn the enjoyment, fun, and pleasure all the way up. So oftentimes we think this is another sort of pop culture idea, that it has to suck in order to be beneficial. And that stops a lot of people from forming a self-care habit because it puts you in a double bind. You either have to choose between doing the thing that's good for you or doing the thing that you enjoy. And most well-adjusted people won't make that choice. They want a life that is both nourishing and enriching and cultivates their well-being and also is enjoyable, fun, and pleasurable. This is a saying in psychology that I think you'll find helpful with both this tip and the next one. We humans are immediate reward, energy conserving animals. It's the way our brains are wired. It's the way our brains have evolved over millions and millions of years. And many people use that understanding as, well, yeah, well, that's why I go through the drive-through and eat junk food, or that's why I don't exercise and I sit on the couch because I get the immediate reward of watching a fun show and conserving energy. So that is true. So what I'm suggesting is, yes, set the intention to do something that you know is good for you. but don't make it as miserable as possible. Make the thing that's good for you as enjoyable, fun, and pleasurable as possible. What we're doing here is we're not fighting the human nature that we're immediate reward, energy conserving animals. We're actually using it. We're leveraging it. So if you can take this thing you want to be doing, eating better in some way, exercising more in some way, and making it as enjoyable, fun, and pleasurable as possible, you are making it sticky. You're making it something you want to do, not for the long-term benefit, not because it prevents cardiovascular disease 20 years from now or prevents dementia 40 years from now, but because it's an immediate reward. This is funny to a lot of people, but you're making instant gratification work for you. You're going to go do that workout not because of its long-term benefits, but because you love the people there, or because the music there is incredible, or it's an outdoor yoga class in an absolutely beautiful place. You're going for the benefit is the workout itself, as opposed to the delayed gratification idea. Just to emphasize that point a little bit with moving your body specifically, there's a popular saying in our culture, no pain, no gain. I propose an antidote, no pain, all gain. So meaning like make the exercise itself a benefit, as I was just saying, and then you get all the long-term benefits as well. And you can do the same thing with food. Instead of sort of diet culture's idea is something like, if it tastes good, it's bad for you. If it tastes bad, it's good for you. Again, that has you in a double bind where you have to choose between enjoyment or nourishment. I encourage you to make meals and snacks that find the intersection between that which is beneficial and that which is enjoyable. So that's a saying something like, it tastes good and it's good for you. It's good for you and it tastes good. So look for foods you know to be nutritious that are also among your favorites. All right, thanks for hanging with me. We've got a few minutes left and we've got two more habit skills to go over. One is make it so convenient you can't not do it. That's using the other half of the important psychological principle that humans are immediate reward, energy conserving animals. So all other factors being equal, we'll always do the thing that's the most convenient because it uses the least energy. And that's something that's enabled us to survive for millions and millions and millions of years. So these are things like stocking your office fridge with nutritious snacks, or bringing some non-perishable nutritious snacks to put in the pantry or on the counter at your workplace or in your glove compartment. This is why making a big batch of soup or stew or chili or chowder on the weekend and having it in single serve containers in your fridge when you get home tired, it's ready to go. This is why people have home gyms or take half of their home office and make it a little mini workout area, or a little where they have their yoga mat or where they have a treadmill or something like that. Um, if you make it so you have to drive across rush hour in bad weather to get to the place where you exercise, there's friction between you and doing that activity. There's friction, there's resistance, there's extra energy that has to be expended. The more you can make it convenient, frictionless, resistanceless, the less energy that goes into getting it done, the more successful you'll be. A funny example to drive this home that'll stick in your mind is, imagine someone like sleeping in their exercise clothes. So that when they wake up in the morning, no energy has to go into opening their closet and changing clothes. It's just like, I'm already in these clothes, I'm ready to go. All right, the last habit skill is to get support. Get all of the support you could possibly get. Get personal support, get professional support. Don't let yourself think that you're weak, or there's something wrong with you for having to get support. Remember that no one does anything truly substantive in life entirely by themselves. So ask for help in all the ways that are most helpful to you. This is summarized. All of these 8 habit skills that I talked about are summarized on this habit success checklist. Because I know we're right at the end of my 20 minutes, I'm not going to go through them, but you'll have this. Anyone who wants this PowerPoint presentation, feel free to message me and I'll send you this whole PowerPoint presentation so you have all these ideas. Think of this like the troubleshooting guide that came with your phone. If you're having trouble forming the habits you want to form, this is a checklist. Make sure you're leaning into one or more of these. Remember, if you don't have it, you don't have it. So don't simply rely on willpower. Lean into habits. and you will create something that you own and have for life. Just so it's on your screen for one more moment, here's my contact info if you want to take a screenshot. I'll send you my PowerPoint presentation. I'll send you additional resources, and I'd love to have a one-to-one. Thanks again for coming out on this snow day.
Jason, I want to share with you three really funny things that you brought up. First of all, I know I want to go for a walk after Roundtable today, so I literally, not even kidding, put on my workout pants before today's Roundtable, and I'm like, I am gonna wear these because I'm going for a walk after the Roundtable today. So that was really funny that you said that. Make it convenient because now I have to go. Two, the other convenience thing that I make Niels do now is whenever we go somewhere, he has to park at the very end of the parking lot because I'm done driving around parking lots looking for the better spot. And I'm like, it's healthier if we park at the, like, just park where nobody's going to hit you at the very end of the parking lot and then we'll walk all the way. It's so good for you. And then you said one other thing that hit home with me. Oh, the all or nothing. Most of you know me, know that I'm like an all or nothing kind of person. But I'll tell you, when it comes to your health, I am healthier than I've been in 20 years right now because I've kind of let go of that all or nothing, little steps. It really is. I mean, he's so right. And that ladder, I'm not even like it's on my desktop at my office. It sits there because it is the little tiny steps that get to a much better place. So that was really funny that you said those three things because I was like dying laughing inside. Any quick questions for Jason? Awesome. All right. I highly recommend a one-to-one with Jason. Guys, our next roundtable like this is our marketing roundtable. So I know Niels is going to be reaching out to people pretty soon to line up those people and those presenters. But we do this to help our members. It's a generic roundtables. So it kind of helps all members, no matter what your role is. So we are going to be having our marketing one, which will be geared towards small business owners and professionals, how to look at marketing for themselves and their small business. That is on March 23rd. If you registered today for this, I'm pretty sure it registers you for all three because our last one is financials for the small business owner or professional. So thank you so much for being here. This was our Health and Wellness Roundtable. I appreciate all of you and make yourself a priority. Huge thank you to our speakers today. Have a great rest of the snowy day. And do double chins. I keep sitting here and going like this. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a funny video.
Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you all taking the time to hear from us. And thanks for Kelly and Niels for organizing all of it.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks all.